Gen X is the first generation to be told, you're on your own. And when it comes to retirement, that changed everything. And retirement wasn't supposed to be this expensive. And if we're expecting to keep spending the way we are now, the big house, the new cars, the lifestyle upgrades, what's perceived as normal today, we might be signing up to work a lot longer than we want to. So here's the question that I had to ask myself. What am I actually willing to give up in order to buy back my freedom and make retirement attainable? And by the way, who convinced us that we need all of this stuff in the first place? Okay, the first sacrifice that Gen X is too afraid to make, and that's the forever house. The suburban dream, it's revealing itself to be a major headache. That oversized house with the bigger mortgage, the higher taxes, the higher insurance, higher utilities, the constant repairs and upkeep. According to the Federal Reserve, housing should not take more than 30% of your income. That's including mortgage, rent, and everything else that I just mentioned. But we know that there are some Gen Xers that are spending way more than that. And I know in today's market, in today's economy, it's kind of hard to escape that. Now, if downsizing or relocating freed up $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. And invested every year for 15 years at a modest 7%. That could be $275K to $300K in that 15 years. Downsizing shouldn't be looked at as failure. It's really just buying back your future. It's leverage. Number 2, another sacrifice that Gen X is afraid to make, and that's cutting off their adult children. And this one hurts, but it has to be said. We cannot borrow for retirement, but our kids can borrow for college, for housing, for mistakes. There was a survey done in 2025 by savings.com, and it shows that over 50% of Gen Xers, they spend on average $1,474 per month on their adult children. That's nearly $18,000 a year. And over a decade, almost $200,000. And if you've got plenty of money to shower on your kids, then that's fine. But if it's costing you your future, some adjustments probably need to be made. So we should ask ourselves, what is better, modeling independence or how we're sacrificing our future? Will the kids be able to answer the call to support us financially if we can no longer support ourselves as we age? And, hear me on this. It's not about abandoning our kids. But what I am saying is it's time to start thinking about, where does this end? Is this just an open-ended financial rescue? Or is there a plan, a timeline? The third sacrifice that Gen X seems unwilling to change, and that's the car payment. That $700, $800 car payment, that's not success, that's indentured servitude. And the system works when we keep upgrading. That's exactly what the system wants us to do. And just think about the average new car payment. It's now over $730 a month on average. And I know that some are paying a lot more than that. Usually the second most expensive thing you'll ever buy. And for some people, it's the most expensive thing you'll ever buy. Let's just minimize the transactions and maximize our car's usefulness before we rush to trade them in. Number 4, many Gen Xers, they can't sacrifice dining out in order to retire.
Where are we eating tonight?
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Gen Xers spend around $3,872 per year on eating out at restaurants. We spend more in this category than any other generation. And that doesn't even include takeout or delivery. That's over $300 a month. And this isn't about never eating out. But it'll mean a lot more if it's treated more as a special occasion, not deprivation. Just reminding yourself of your goals and lining up your spending to reflect that. Now, sacrifice number 5 that many Gen Xers aren't willing to give up, and that's social conformity. Now, Gen X, we grew up being told not to care what others think. But the amount of money we're spending today doesn't seem to reflect that. Spending to keep up with friends and social media, our siblings, to appear successful. Spending like that is one of the fastest ways to stay broke or stay in debt. Think about all the spending that possibly occurs in your life. You know, it could be the upgraded tech or upgrading the phones. It could be travel, vacations, big events, season passes, Christmas spending. It's not hard to see how $6,000, $8,000 a year just slipping through your fingers. And we just have to remind ourselves and ask ourselves, is it really worth it? Now, number 6 is many Gen Xers, they won't sacrifice their free time for a second income. Now, if you're relying on just one income in your 50s, possibly even your 60s, you may be opening yourself up to some vulnerabilities. And I know this is a controversial topic. And I also know that some people, their main job, it takes everything out of them. So no, they're not going to take what little free time they have and give it up to more work. I understand that. And it can be controversial because it just seems like the further along that we go in this, society, it seems like the more seems to be required of us. Used to be one income in a household was enough. And of course, we saw that change when we were kids. Both parents have to work. But I don't think that this, side gig, part-time, bringing in some other income on the side, I don't think that's just a today thing. I know for me personally, I watched my dad as a kid, when I was a teenager. He was always doing something else on the side. He always had a little network of people. And he gave up a lot of his weekends to do things like that, to bring in extra money for the household. He even was in the National Guard for that reason as well. But not just my dad. I saw my mom do it. She took on babysitting jobs all through my teenage years. So I don't think it's just a today thing, or at least it hasn't been in my life. I've seen it all along. But if doing something in your free time could bring in some extra money that you could put toward your future, I think it's worth exploring. And maybe it's not even something you do long term. Maybe you just clean out the basement, the garage, sell off, some things on the marketplace, the extra car, the boat. We still have time to invest that extra money. We still have time that that it can compound and it can grow. I know that because I watch the extra money that I get, that I put in, I watch it grow immediately. And yeah, we're having good returns right now, but might as well take advantage of them while we have it. And that leads me into number 7. Many Gen Xers don't want to sacrifice safety for future growth. About 25% of Gen Xers do not participate in a 401k. And that could be because where you work doesn't offer one. But a survey done by the National Institute on Retirement Security found that roughly 40% of Gen Xers do not invest in any types of 401ks or IRAs. Now, does that mean that they don't have any money saved at all? Or is it sitting somewhere safe, like a bank, savings, checking account? Now, I know it's convenient and it feels safe. You know, the paychecks are just going into the bank anyway. Just leave them there. I know that's where my mom prefers that all of her money be, is somewhere safe in a bank account. But at her age, that's understandable. But we know that, you know, a 3% inflation rate. Let's say you have $10,000 in your savings account, and with a 3% inflation rate, the buying power of that 10K in a year's time is only $9,700. Now, yeah, you may have earned some interest on that if you have it in a high-yield savings account to offset that a little bit. But we don't know how long those interest rates are going to stay at those levels. We have to do other things with our money to offset that inflation rate, because it happens no matter what. And we also have to remember that our retirement, it can last decades. So I truly believe that even when you start your retirement, that you still have a chunk of your nest egg in accounts that's going to do some growing for you. And of course, that usually means the stock market. Because yes, growth matters now, but growth matters after we retire as well. And there's nothing wrong with wanting safety. But I think you take percentages of your money, chunks of your money, and put them in different vehicles. And that way you spread out your growth potential. Now, here's the truth that most don't want to say, and that's that the price of freedom usually is the sacrifice of comfort. Retirement is not free, far from it, and it's not even guaranteed. Now, we were the latchkey kids. We figured things out on our own, and I really think that retirement for us will be no different. I would love for you to let me know in the comments if you think any of these are things that you'll need to give up in order to retire. And if you'd like to know the things that Gen X is willing to sacrifice in order to make our savings last, then watch this video next. I've linked it right here. But life and retirement, it's not all about sacrifice. It should be full of simple pleasures as well. So I hope you have a great week. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.